So, one of the favorite offerings that I have been doing recently on my website and in my work is what I call the Meet Your Spirit Guide reading. And in that reading, I tune into your energy and I ask to connect with one of your guides. And I do this as just a quick little reading. I do it on my own, and then I send you the voice file and with a little 5 minute introduction to your guide. And I've been doing this now, oh, I don't know, maybe like about 6 months, 7 months, and it's been really fun to do them. Um, and and it's really, really magical because it's really, really fun. Now, you don't always need to know your guides' names. You don't always need any identifying information. But again, I know for me that when I made that first connection to my spirit guide, and then my guides in general, but that first spirit guide connection, where I had like kind of a face and a name and a personality for my guide, something inside of me changed. Something inside of me changed, and I really understood for the first time on a really deep level that I was not alone, that I'd never been alone, and that I have so much support available to me across the veil that have been with me my whole life. And it really gave just a lot of hope and a lot of comfort and a lot of meaning to my life. And so I love doing these readings. And so what I'll do is I'll tune in, I'll see what guide wants to come forward. I will do a little voice record, receiving of the guide and giving you a little bit of information. And then boom, I send it to you and you are free to play with your guide. And it was occurring to me that probably sometimes when people get that information, they don't know like what the next step is. Like, how do I connect with my guide from here? You just made this introduction and I don't know what to do next. So this episode is all about ways in which we can more intentionally and playfully connect with our spirit guides. All right. And it's fun for you, regardless of whether or not you get a Meet Your Spirit Guide reading. You may already have a relationship with your guides or some of your guides, but it's just a way that you can begin to really like flesh out, enjoy, and deepen that connection and that relationship. All right. So that's what we're doing today. And here we go. All right, so hello and welcome to Intuitive Connection. I'm your host, intuitive counselor, and spiritual guide, Victoria Shaw. And today, this episode is all about one of your favorite topics. I know this from the number of downloads I get whenever I talk about this topic, your spirit guides, and how we can connect with and play with all of the beautiful guidance that we have on the other side of the veil here to support us. And, I got the idea of this episode. I was talking to a new connection. He's an astrologer, and we're going to have him on the show very shortly if we haven't already. And he gave me this, like, really, before we were doing a little service trade. So he was giving me a little chart reading and I was giving him a little intuitive reading, and it was super duper fun. And before my reading, he said, I got this download, Victoria, before coming on, and it's that you should kind of treat the planets like friends or like spirit guides and play with them, just like play with them, like just treat them like guides. And I just love that idea. So I'm just starting to do this, but really just like intentionally like playing with some of my guides, right? And it's a funny story too, because very shortly before he got this download this summer, I was traveling to Colorado to see my favorite band. If you watch the show, you'll know that's the Avett Brothers. And I was going to see them play at Red Rocks, which you've heard me, again, if you listen to the show, talk about before. And, but it was my first time going solo, right? The previous two times I went with my ex-husband, who I was married to at the time. And this was my first time going solo. And though I was really, really excited to go and claim this as my own experience, I was also a little bit nervous. I was a little bit nervous because, my ex-husband was sort of like the logistical one. And it just, I was used to doing with him. So shortly before I went, I was a little bit nervous, which is not normal for me, but I was a little bit apprehensive. Like this was starting to feel like a really big deal for me to take this trip. And one of my teachers, said to me, she's like, Victoria, a guide that's been working for you with you for a while is coming forward for you and would like to go to Colorado with you. And, he says you can call him a planet name. And she gave me the choice between Venus and Saturn. And I chose Saturn because I'm no, wrong. I'm going to go with Saturn next. I chose Venus because I don't know, Venus just seemed way sexier than Saturn. But don't worry, Saturn, I'm playing with you next. And so Venus and I had just a beautiful time together in Colorado. And I really did enjoy the energy of this guide and that name and that energy. So that when this astrologer had given me that suggestion again, I was like, oh, this is just so cool. Like, I'm going to really, the planets have already been my guide. So I'm just going to roll with it. But it also made me realize the ways in which we can play with and hang with and be with our guides while here in the human form and the different ways that we can connect with them. And so for me, when I was traveling with my new beloved Venus, first of all, again, it just gave me great comfort to know he was there or that energy was there. Two, I called upon him many times and had a particularly like harrowing experience, or it felt very harrowing at the beginning when we kind of got stranded at this airport for like 10 hours. And, Venus was like coming through with all sorts of little gifts and all sorts of little reassurances. And I really did feel like he was on my team. Right. And one of the things that I had during that experience, and this is the first way in which we can really play with our guides, is signs. Right. And again, my sweet mentor said to me before the trip, she's like, your guide wants, either pick a planet name. And I did. And then she said, and he's going to like communicate with you or show you his presence through metal objects. Okay. And I was traveling on the full moon, and somehow I've got it in my sweet brain that one thing to do if you get any insomnia on the full moon, which I don't know if I do or I don't, but somewhere I heard that drinking coconut water around the full moon helps you sleep. So I've been doing that quite superstitiously and regularly around the full moon. So I was already wondering, how am I going to get, even when I was taking off on the plane, how am I going to get my coconut water? So here I am stranded in some random airport, that doesn't even have security after like 2 p.m., right? One restaurant that stayed open just for us at the very one gate that there was, right? But lo and behold, they had coconut water in the commissary, right? In a metal can. The coconut water is usually in like plastic but this one was in a metal can. And I just was like, oh, that really feels like a sign. That really feels like some support from my guide. So the first way that we can connect with our guides is look for those signs, welcome them, ask for them, and then again, drink them in and really enjoy them when they happen. And this was just one of many really beautiful signs and synchronicities that I will credit very much to my sweet traveling companion, Venus. Okay. So signs are a really, really, really good way to connect with our guides. And it's really fun. And if you want more energy, more information about how to work with the energy of signs, we have several shows that are devoted to that topic already on this podcast. One of my favorites is called How Do I Know It's a Sign? But there are very many. So you can check all of those out. Right. So one way that we can work with our guides is to ask for signs, to look for signs. And it's just a great way to know that they're with us and that we're supported. Right. Another one is to talk to them. Now, living alone, but pretty much even before I lived alone, pretty much always, I've always been in the habit. I'm a verbalizer, right? As you know, I'm a channel. You listen to me talk. I talk for a living, basically. And I also talk a lot to myself. And I talk a lot to my imaginary helpers or my guides. And I've been doing that since I was a child, and definitely quite intentionally since I opened up my intuition again in 2006, actually, not even 20. so like almost 20 years ago. And so I've been talking to my guides pretty intentionally ever since. And talking to our guides is a really nice thing to do. Just like, sometimes if you have a loved one that's passed and you talk to them and you imagine them hearing you. Well, when you talk to your guides, they hear you too. Now, do you need to speak out loud for them to hear you? No. No, not at all. They're reading your energy. They're tuning into you. If you're thinking of them, you are drawing them towards you. They can hear your thoughts. They can sometimes even hear the thoughts and ideas that you haven't even fully formulated yet in your sweet little mind, right? So they're with you no matter what, but sometimes talking to them, right? It helps reinforce that human to spirit connection because humans talk to each other, right? And so that when we can verbalize and vocalize towards our guides, it helps us on the human side really like acknowledge and recognize that they're there. And plus, it's fun. So I talk to my guides all the time. Sometimes I do it in my head, right? But a lot of times I do it with my vocal cords and my lips. And some of you, again, if you listen to the show a lot, you already know that one of the ways that I receive guidance when I am, when it's, I really need to like tune in, or sometimes my guides will even just nudge me and say, we got something to say and we need you to like really quiet down so you can hear us. I go on walk and talks with my guides where I put on a headset and my voice recorder, and I go for a hike, and they will speak to me, and that's how I receive information. But I often start that process by talking to them. Okay. And then the next thing, of course, is to listen for the answers. Now, for me, I've been doing this work, for pay 15 years, and probably even a little bit longer than that. So, right, for me, a lot of times when I speak to a guy, and also I think I've been doing this work in other bodies too, to be honest. But so a lot of times when I speak to my guys, I get an instantaneous response, particularly if I'm in a session and I'm focused on someone else's energy and I'm in that zone. 9 out of 10 times, the answers come instantaneously. Okay. But it doesn't always have to be that way. Sometimes it is, and I would trust that. Um, but oftentimes, especially when it's answers to my own questions or answers to questions that, I need a little bit of time to be able to receive those answers, right? I'll throw out the question and it will come later on, right? It might be a book that I open that has my answer, or it might be a friend that, just spills out of their mouth, right? Or a billboard or a reading that I get from, a colleague or a friend, or a dream, or, when I'm in one of my walk and talks, they may say, hey, remember that thing you asked? Well, you're ready to hear it now. Right. So the next thing is to start to listen, and we can talk to them. And if you imagine when you're talking to them that you're hearing something back, and what you're hearing feels uplifting, life empowering, loving, and not necessarily self-aggrandizing, but it feels empowering and good. I would say 9.9 out of 10 times you are in fact connecting with them. So go with that, enjoy it. And it's trial and error, right? So, don't jump off a bridge because your guides told you to do that, but also just don't do that, right? It's not smart. But for the most part, they're never going to tell you to do that. But for the most part, well, anyway, it'd be highly unlikely. Maybe if you're being chased by elephants, I don't know, but just don't do it. But 9 out of 10 times, if not 10 out of 10, like, it's you're going to be doing this in situations where, they're not high stakes decisions. They're just, you're just tuning in to get some guidance. And in those cases, you can trust most of what you receive for reals, right? And you'll just keep playing and practicing, and you'll get better and better at forming that two-way conversation. But the other thing that you can do is just throw out the question and then get out of the way and wait for the answer to come, because it always will. It always will. It may come to you in your dreams. It may come to you in, something that you pick up and read, or something that someone like I shares, or something you hear in a podcast, right? Or in your very own mind when you have an aha moment. But if you ask that question, if you put it out there, I promise you it'll be like a beautiful, sweet boomerang. And when you are ready to receive it, your guides will give you the answer, right? They will support you in finding your truth, because that is exactly what they're here to do. They want to help you, and they're hearing you all the time, no matter what, right? As soon as you call them, they are arriving. That's how the law of attraction works, right? The only question is, are you ready as a human being to receive that yet? Okay. And eventually you will be, and your answer will come. Another one that the guides are giving me right now is meditation, right? And I know I think it's in the Spirit Guides class that I have online, and definitely in the self-paced Activate Your Intuition class. I have a whole video that is all around a meditation to meet your spirit guides. So you can check something like that out if it speaks to you. And I'm sure there's other ones in the world too. But you can also just get in the habit of getting quiet, right? Learning to still the mind. You can do a little bit of a imaginary, like, guided visualization. I'm walking into a garden, right? My guide is sitting in the garden, or, I'm opening a door. On the other side of the door is my guide, right? Whatever kind of imagery that works for you, that feels comfortable for you. And then from that, relaxed trance state, you can feel that connection with your spirit guide. Okay, so meditation can be a great way to do that. And guided visualization is sometimes better because a lot of meditation practices where you're just stilling the mind, the intention of those is just to quiet the mental chatter. It's not necessarily to hear your intuition, right? Although sometimes after meditation, I find that my intuitive guidance is heightened because my mind has been quiet. So that's another time to do it after meditation. But there's also certain guided visualizations that can help you connect and play with your guides. And so I recommend that if that is something that you feel drawn to. The guides say you can also draw a picture. This is another really good one. And I have actually never tried this, so I'm going to try it. But draw a picture of your guide. Again, we want to keep that relationship playful. Your guides are here to support you. They're here to play with you. When I went to Colorado with Venus, we were just hanging out, having a good time. And it was playful and fun. And at moments when I felt like, ooh, I wish I had a partner here, a human partner here, when this was a solo trip, it was really cool to tap in and say, but I do have a divine partner here. Hey, what's up? So, keep it playful, keep it fun, because that's the energy where your guides live and they want to invite you to be there with them too. But drawing a picture can be another really fun thing. And, it doesn't have to be accurate. There are some people that draw spirit guides or draw spirits, and that is their specific gift. And maybe some of you, that will be your thing for you. But really, the guides say anything you get is good enough. It's just another way to facilitate the connection. Maybe you'll get a color or a burst of light, that you can recognize them by, or maybe you'll get a little persona that you can then use so that you have this image in your mind's eye and you can play with that. The image can change just like their names can change because it's just a doorway or a little like sign on the doorway to show you where the door is, okay, and how to open it. Once you open that door, right, it goes beyond our human understanding and things can change. But drawing a picture of your guide, can be a really fun thing. And again, you don't have to worry about if it's right or wrong. Just have fun with it. Just play. Just enjoy the process. Let it evolve. Again, intention is like 90% of the game, right? Set that intention and then be playful, relax, have fun, and just trust that whatever you receive is exactly what you're meant to have right now. All right, I'm going to check my list and see if I'm missing any. Ooh, I am missing two more. Another one that they say is a great way to play with them is to feel their energy. And I forgot about this because this is a big one for me, right? Some of us are very visual, but some people like me, I'm very kinesthetic. So I feel energy. Okay. So for me, oftentimes when my guides arrive, and you'll sometimes even see me now that those of you who are watching this on YouTube, kind of there's a spot right around my right temple where I often feel my guides arrive. Okay. I've come to call it my spirit spot. So oftentimes when my guides are there or something comes, I feel it in my spirit spot. I feel like, oh, they're there. But other times I feel sensations in other areas of my body, right? Or just feel like, just tuning into their soul signature or their energetic signature, if they haven't incarnated, or, just feel some delight in my body, just knowing that they're there. So oftentimes too, we can feel their energy or feel that connection in our physical form. You can even ask them to touch you and know what that feels like to you. Okay. So there's many ways in which we can physically, through our felt sense, experience our spirit guides. And that can just be a wonderful connection. And oftentimes when I experience my guides, it's just such a feeling of love, just beautiful, unconditional love, support, peace, allowing, and just goodness, right? And so that can just feel very, very, very yummy and lovely. And then the last one, and I think I talked about this already, but it's still a really good one, is ask for messages, right? And it can be, if you have a particular question that you want guidance on, or it could just be like waking up in the morning and saying, okay, guys, what do I need to know today? Connection always works best when we have a quiet mind, right? So whatever helps you to quiet your mind, being in the bath, walking at the beach, going for a run, meditating, cooking, driving, like those are the times when our mind is a little bit quiet. We're most likely to hear their guidance, but you can ask anytime, right? And even if you don't get an instant response, you can trust that once you've asked, that message is coming right back to you as soon as you're ready to receive. So I want to see if there's anything else that wants to come through. I think I covered all the things I wanted to say. Other than that, your guides are always here to support you. They love you. They want to play with you. They want to awaken parts of you that, are sitting there latent, ready to be expressed, ready to be remembered, ready to be activated and fully expressed, right? And they're here to support you with that. They're here to support you in reconnecting with you in the best possible way. Right? They want to help you be full and complete expressions of everything that your soul wants to imbue or embody and express here in the human realm. Okay. They're here for you. They love you. They're supporting you. We all have them. And they're really, 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 really ready to play, whenever you like. They say to always trust the messages that you get, especially the ones that feel loving and affirming, because your guides love you and they're not going to say nasty things. They're not going to be mad at you. They're not going to abandon you. They're not going to judge you. They're always with you. And any obstacles or interference you feel, my sweet friend, is coming from you. And that's okay too, because they're here to help you with that, to love you with that. Even if you're having a little bit of trouble remembering your own lovability, they have not forgot. They're here to support you. They love you and they are ready to play. And they say too that the sky is the limit in the way that you can connect with them. So any way that you think of that you can connect with a human being is a way that you can also connect with your spirit guide. Okay. And that you can have that. And again, sometimes it doesn't feel exactly the same thing, because maybe we're not going to see them or feel them with our 3D senses, but they're always there. They're always loving us, and they are ready to support us in any way that we desire. All right, that is all I got on this one. I hope you guys all enjoy and try some of these tips for playing with your guides. And know that I do offer spirit guide readings to people all over the world via, well, this one isn't via Zoom. This one is via, you ask to meet your guides, and then I will send you a voice recording. And I also teach on this topic widely and offer one-to-one sessions with folks via Zoom. So lots of ways that I can facilitate the communication between you and your spirit guides, but also just start playing on your own. Start playing on your own. Enjoy it. Trust yourself. We all have them. We all can take advantage of that beautiful, loving, and divine connection. All right. Thank you guys all for tuning in, and namaste.